Welcome and good day, everyone. Sorry I haven't seen you for a long time. This man is extremely special to me. I grew up listening to his voice. My father was a avid radio talk show listener. I got to know many radio talk show hosts through him. Sorry, that is my doggie. Let me just shut the door. He's a nutcase. I'm in a different place, so the Wi-Fi is better. That's why you're not seeing me. But I found, though, when I heard my father listening to Mr. Savage, Dr. Savage, he yelled a lot. I wasn't sure if I wanted to listen to talk shows, let alone someone who yelled. Yet someone told me to help me sleep, I should start listening to the radio. So I turned on the radio, turned on talk radio, not just music. And Mr. Savage or Dr. Savage came on, and I lay there and I listened. His dialogue, his knowledge of history, his education, his humor, his ups and his downs, everything about him I connected with. While listening to him, while listening to talk radio, closing my eyes, I became more intelligent. I was able to absorb more information. I learned history in a way I never did before. I thought I knew, but ins and outs that I never did before. The way he told stories and described the past, the Depression, how difficult an immigrant's life was here. He is of Jewish Russian descent, and he grew up from nothing, poverty, horrible stories that his family experienced, the suffering that we don't know. Yet he earned 2 master's degrees and a PhD and has become a multiple New York Times bestseller. I wrote a screenplay that was so long because it had so much information, because my mind was able to think of multiple bits of connect to multiple bits of information at once. There was so much information, and I was able to absorb more information. That's because when you listen to the radio rather than watching something all the time, when you watch things, then the idea comes across, the image comes across, and you stop thinking. So you're partly analyzing what you're seeing and judging, oh, this picture looks fantastic, but you're not thinking about what you're listening to. Your mind doesn't begin to imagine. Your mind works better when you listen. They say that last senses that we have as we die is our hearing. Our brain, everything stops functioning, but we can still hear. I cannot tell you what we've lost when we've lost talk radio. And now 200 radio stations have been bought by George Soros. So the information may be very, very different. But I lost something when Dr. Savage stopped being on the radio. And I grieved on the nights when he wasn't on. He wasn't well, he was tired. Something was going on, and I grieved not hearing his voice. After he was on, Coast to Coast came on. And as you know, if you know George Norrie, he has a very beautifully spoken voice. Wonderful to listen to, but he's always calm. He's not concerned about the world. Dr. Savage was concerned about what he was seeing. And we're talking, I started listening to him over 20 years ago. And he could see things that were happening and predicted things that they say he was a conspiracy theorist. He's not a conspiracy theorist. He could see what was going to happen in the future. He was concerned about a certain candidate and what they would bring. He said it first. This is the man who saw the change in America, the fundamental transformation of America before it happened. He warned you about what he said. He is the one who coined the phrase, liberalism is a mental disorder. And he is 100% correct, as we've seen things evolve that we would have never dreamed. This is the man. This is the man who used the word, his name, and nation. And you will find people using their name and nation all over the place. This guy doesn't get the credit for it. This guy should get the credit for more than you could possibly imagine. Let me quickly give you his degrees. Let's see, close that. Let's see. He was born March 31st, 1942 in the Bronx. And let's see here. He graduated from Jamaica High School in 1958. He earned his master's degrees. He has a double master's from the University of Hawaii in medical botany and medical anthropology, and a PhD in nutrition in ethnomedicine from UC Berkeley in 1967. And from then, he has written many books and many on the New York Times bestseller list. He was banned in Britain. We know what's going on in Britain today, and we know how crazy they've gotten. It was this man that foresaw that coming. He put out a warning, and because of that warning, Britain banned him. And this was maybe I'm not sure if it was 1994, 2014. I'm sorry. I'm a bit tired. He's on the money. His brain never fails him. My brain fails me. I'm sorry. It was a while ago. He wrote a book called Banned in Britain. He warned you. And now you can't even speak about what's going on in the streets there without Interpolice picking you up from this country to bring you over there. They're letting people go by the thousands, violent criminals, to put ordinary citizens in jail who have something that they've deemed as misinformation or violent speech, whatever they deem it as, whether that's true or not, on social media. It's unbelievable what's happening. And I say, where is the king? Where is the king? Doesn't he care about his people, justice and fairness? Where is the king? This man was persecuted first, and no one took the ban away. I will never visit England again. Never. I visited England once a long time ago. Never again. But this is the guy who sounded the warning. Let me put his picture up. There he is. He's 82 years old now. He's old. He's no longer doing talk show. Unfortunately, when Rush Limbaugh died, everybody knew Rush Limbaugh. They didn't realize that they had a jewel. They had a treasure in Dr. Savage. The information that he gave you that you could learn from, you don't even need to go to college. The way this man spoke of history and things you could never dream of. I became less intelligent when I no longer could hear him on the radio. Both my radios broke. I couldn't get radio service. And I became stupider. I really did. This is the man. I was smart, I was quick, but this man kept my brain going. Well, anyway, George Norrie, when after this man was, he would yell, but it was righteous anger. He was warning the world. And I sometimes fell asleep while listening to him, not because he was boring. On the contrary, it's because I knew what was happening to this country. I knew the road we were going on, and that there was a voice out there on the airwaves that was just as upset and was yelling to the world, there's someone, and I can rest tonight, that the world might be listening and would turn the trajectory around of the course that we were going. Someone was upset. Someone was angered. And he was on the airwaves. This is before YouTube really took off. And everybody likes to see things, and you have to look good, and your set has got to look good. I'm too poor for any of that. I don't even have good lighting. But these are the days of radio, and it made you more intelligent. The days of video, we used to listen to a song and imagine what the song meant, what the songwriter meant. And then they gave you videos with all these crazy things that had nothing to do with the depth and the poetry and the music of the song. So song music became different. We lost so much with video and visuals. He came on today and gave us a warning of things to come. It's a very short, but I'd like to bring you some things that Michael Savage has spoken about. And I've said in my videos in the past, when my videos were very good, though I've taken most of them down because of the way the world, because of the fear of speaking truth, of speaking your mind. I've taken most of my videos down. But I used to tell you some of the things I learned from Dr. Savage. He traveled the world. He went to the Fiji Islands. He brought back medicinal plants that could cure illnesses. And they're today in the Kew Gardens in England, which he could never go visit. This man has had an incredible life. And it just medical botany, the study medical botany, and that it isn't that he's spent his time as a professor. They say those who do, and those who don't teach. He traveled the world and went into places that were difficult and impossible to live through. He lived with the people. They say they lived with the tribes and the difficult. He lived with them. He's not a man who's talking, you would think he'd be a lefty, but none of these liberals would live under the conditions he did to understand the plants, to find the plants that might cure us. He's an epidemiologist. He understood the Black Plague when it happened, and he's the one who sounded the alarm saying, hey, it says here that the flu and the cold completely disappeared. That makes no sense. He knows how to read the medical literature. He's a doctor in that sense. Anyway, this is a taste of Dr. Savage. I suggest you subscribing to his channel. I suggest you going online, try to listen to some of his podcasts. Close your eyes and listen to them, possibly at night. That's the best time, I think, to absorb information. Anyway, here is Dr. Savage. Let me turn me off and turn him on.
Right now, because look, we're living in one of the most dangerous times in American history. I'm 82 years old. I've lived through the Vietnam War. I've lived through catastrophes of one kind or another, the assassination of JFK, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the protests against the Vietnam War. I have never, ever seen such a lying pack of scumbag fascists in my life that I am seeing now in this Democrat machine. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. They passed a directive which permits the United States military to fire on U.S. citizens while calling Trump a fascist. This is right out of Hitler's Germany. They are the Hitlers. I could start screaming, but the screaming isn't going to do anything. They're calling Trump a fascist. Do you know what they did? Do you understand what they did? They passed a law, a directive by executive order, which permits the U.S. military to join local police in firing upon arresting U.S. citizens. They're getting ready to steal the election. If Trump wins by a fluke, if they can't control the vote and he wins, they're not going to let him rule. They are ready to take over this country, lock, stock, and barrel. Right now, they have it lock and stock and not barrel. I'm telling you, it's the end of it all right now. I've never seen such fascistic scumbags in my life. Never, never. DHS compromised. Justice Department compromised. Military Department compromised. What is left? Tell me. These are the most despicable, dangerous criminals I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm speaking out when I shouldn't, because I'll go on the enemies list if I'm not already on there. You better go on their enemy list. I've never seen anything like this. You are all the enemies. You are the enemies. These people will arrest you just for voting for Trump. They are like political HIV. They have a retrovirus Marxist mindset. So I've come on this show here now to talk with you just for a few minutes, to alert you to a number of things. I don't expect a huge audience. I don't have a huge audience. I mean, I have about 250,000 followers on Twitter, about the same number on Facebook. I'm still shadow blocked on both of those outlets because they still use third worlders behind the scenes. Third worlders who come from despicable third world hellholes, who are basically the backroom scumbags. Both at almost all the social media sites have these backroom third world vermin shadow blocking, shadow banning people they don't agree with. So there it is. I'll keep speaking until God tells me to shut my mouth. Yeah, on Sundays I like to do God talks and stuff like that. And I love that. I don't know what's going to be left if they let this creep, if they install this cretin. You know, for a while I thought she was just hiding the fact, her answers, in other words. And I was actually saying she's not stupid, but I will tell you she is stupid. She actually is stupid. She could not that she would not, she could not answer a single question at the fake town hall with that degenerate pervert, Anderson Cooper. Anyone who believes anything Anderson Cooper does deserves, you know what? I can't say it, it's a family show. She couldn't answer a single question. She doesn't know the answer. She actually is stupid. She banged her way to the top. She was selected by the Pelosi machine in San Francisco, and then she banged her way to the top. I am sick of her. If this mutt takes over the country, there's going to be nothing left. It's impossible to believe this country could be survived, that this country could survive a mutt like her. It's impossible to believe. I wouldn't mind a Democrat. Give me a centrist Democrat, somebody of some degree of accomplishment in some sphere. The woman has never held, never had a job outside of politics. Never. She was installed as DA. She was installed as Attorney General. She was installed as U.S. Senator. And now they want to install her as President of the United States of America? While North Korean troops are training with Russian troops to fight Ukrainians in a war that never should have happened, other than the fact that the scumbag war machine and that corpse in the White House, the useful corpse in the White House and this stooge let this happen. So I tweeted today a couple of things that are worthy of your attention. I'll go to look at them myself. I don't just carry them around in my head. Fascism, exclamation point. Under Trump, no wars. under Harris Biden, 600,000 dead Ukrainians, 300,000 dead Russians, tens of thousands of dead Palestinians, thousands of dead Israelis. Trump, no political prisoners. Harris Biden, hundreds of innocent Americans in prison and their assets stolen. There's not one word that I would change in that tweet, not one single word. And they're calling Trump Hitler. This is what they do. They accuse that which they are guilty of. I mean, we've all said that for years. We see this. I think that even a fair-minded Democrat would understand how dangerous she is for the survival of this nation. I don't understand it. So now, yesterday I did a live thing called Kamala's Cracking Stucco, the big lie is falling apart. But will the big lie fall apart fast enough to save America? I don't know. I don't know. The vermin behind her are so evil, it's hard to believe. I'd grant her the Goebbels Award, but she wouldn't even know who Goebbels was. She may think it was George Goebbels from the television show in the 1950s when she was a middle-class child sitting on a living room floor. I'd like to read out a phone number, but we don't have one. We have comments which you can make. Can you imagine the first family of this in the White House? If Kamala wins, I may elect to have my eardrums punctured. That's a joke. But you know, the biggest story is the one I told you. I don't know how this is not news all over the country. I don't know why this is not screaming headlines in every newspaper. Kamala and the corpse, the Walking Dead corpse, behind the scenes with no vote, has given the Department of Defense permission to use the U.S. military on U.S. citizens, on U.S. soil. It's unheard of. It's unconstitutional. And this is what you're voting for, you stupid people, you idiots, you? Have you not seen what's going on? All you leftists who opposed wars are now cheering for war. You leftist bastards who opposed war and opposed fascism are cheering on a fascist government that says, yes, they can use the military against U.S. citizens, violating the Posse Comitatus Act. What the hell is wrong with you? Drugs, drugs, drugs. I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen when George Soros in 2008, yes, it goes back to that fucking devil, him and his fucking son. The Soroses are the worst people in the history of America, maybe the world. The worst. They doped America with the fake bullshit about medical marijuana. I fought with them. I argued with their front people in 08. I said, you're just using it to legalize drugs. I said, decriminalize marijuana. Do not make it like candy. And they made it like candy. And America is now doped. The way the Chinese were doped by the British with opium, that is how America is now doped with marijuana. Remember the opium wars? You don't even know what that is. You're too stupid to even know what happened. The Chinese had been doped with opium, brought in by the British, who doped the Chinese, just as Soros doped you with marijuana, made pot candy, pot popcorn, anything to dope your brain up so you don't know what the hell is going on. What happened? How did they get rid of the dope dealers in China? Did they vote them out? No, there was a thing called the Boxer Rebellion, where martial artists in China got together and kicked the British out by beating the shit out of them. That's how they got rid of them. Wow. Study the Boxer Rebellion, and I don't mean Barbara, baby. I don't know what it's going to take for the American people to wake up. I see a brainwashing unlike any I've ever seen in my life. Never saw anything like this. She lies about everything. She's stupid. She's unqualified at any speed. She's never done anything of any value for the world. She's never held a job outside of politics. She's never created a product or a service that anyone ever bought. And you're going to make her the most powerful woman on earth? How can you do this? How can you do this? That's all I have to say. I have nothing more to say. I have something positive to show you, and I'm going to do this in a separate YouTube podcast soon. This just arrived today. This is a new herbal book put out by Janet Weiner, my wife, and myself. Took years Never talked about it. It's the most comprehensive book on herbs, vitamins, supplements, and wellness, something I've worked on for 40 years. I was well known in the nutrition field and the herbal field for many years before I went into talk radio, and now I'm back to this. That's all I have to say. There's nothing else to say to you. We are in the most perilous time in my 82 years. I've never seen anything like this. Sure, I did a podcast that's up called Camouflage Kamala and Her Big Lie. All right, so it reaches 20, 30,000 people, 40,000 at the end of the week. They say that my podcasts are reaching about 800,000 people a week, according to my ad agency. That's not enough people. There are people who reach tens of millions and it's not making much of a dent. The brainwashing of the left is so complete because of Katzenberg, Matzenberg, and Ratzenberg. Because of Katzenberg, Matzenberg, and Ratzenberg, and the vermin in the media, the other vermin in the media, the brainwashing is complete. First they doped you, then they beat you to death, then they arrested you, and you're still going along with them. Okay, fascism, huh? Hitler, huh? So here you have an administration acting just like Hitler, and you're calling the opposition Hitler, just like Hitler would do. It's one man's opinion. Never saw anything like this in my entire life, and I've studied politics since I'm a teenager. I don't know how much more we can take of this. She is a plant of the same establishment that has killed 600,000 Ukrainians, 300,000 Russians, tens of thousands of Palestinians, and thousands of Israelis. She's part of that machine. Never would have happened under Trump. Never. He's a very imperfect man, just as I am, just as you are. But I really don't care about his perfection or imperfection. Moses was imperfect. What I care about is the fact that he has a track record. She has a track record too, by the way. She's not an unknown quantity. She was a DA in San Francisco. That's when homelessness spread like a virus. She decriminalized pulling your pants down and defecating in the streets. And she told the police, hands off the people crapping in the streets. She has a track record. She was attorney general for 8 years in California. She says she took on transnational drug cartels. No, that is when they proliferated during those 8 years. Another big lie. And yet, you keep thinking she's going to do something good for America? She's a tyrannical lying monster. A tyrannical lying monster. Anyone who votes for her deserves what they get. So we're only a few weeks out from the enemy within. I try to warn you through 30 years in radio and politics. Before that, I was into nutrition and herbal medicine stuff, collecting plants. Don't believe the polls that Trump has it in the bag. If you believe that, you're as stupid as she is and her followers. Did you hear me? Ladies and gentlemen of the Savage Nation, you have one choice ahead of you. Have you voted yet? Make sure you don't vote for fascism. Do not vote for an incompetent fascist stooge called Kamala Harris. You want to be on a plantation? You want the U.S. military to fire on American citizens? Are you that stupid? You want millions of more illegal aliens bringing in more disease? Did you see now just what I warned 30 years ago, immigrants and epidemics? They're bringing in untreatable tuberculosis, strains from Africa, strains from the sewers of Central America. You want Hitler in a skirt? Vote for Kamala. That's all I have to say. Hit the like button if you want. Otherwise, I really don't care what you do. Goodbye.
So that is Michael Savage. He wrote the book, by the way, The Enemy Within, 30 years ago. It was about the enemy within, long before Obama, even before Bush. The enemy within, that was our own citizens in our government and in the citizenry that were going to betray the people, because he warned about communism, Marxism. As you know, Kamala Harris, both her parents are communists. Her father is an avowed Marxist. Her parents attended Marxist rallies. You can't, communist rallies, you can't, the idea that she's really not that, after you've listened to her policies and the thousands of Black men she locked up on pot charges, that when they finished their sentences, they had fulfilled their small amounts of pot. She kept them in jail to give California free slave labor because they make the inmates work. So isn't that slavery? I know she's related to the slave owner Brown, who was an Irishman who owned a plantation in Jamaica. And that's her ancestor. She's not responsible for what her ancestor did. And I suggest watching Candace Owens and her series, including Judge Joe Brown's comments on his experience meeting her father and who her father says his ancestors actually are. It's very interesting. And then there's this mother she locked up, Black mothers, whose children didn't end up going to school because it was truancy. You can drop them off at school, but sometimes children leave. But there's a Black mother, very poor, single mother, whose daughter had a debilitating disease and had to be hospitalized constantly. Well, she was put in jail and she was humiliated in front of her neighborhood. She lost her job, she lost her house, she lost everything. The daughter ended up having a stroke in the hospital because of the stress. And she's paralyzed now on one side of her body. And that's because Kamala Harris. And of course, there's the African-American man who's speaking art. I suggest watching The Art of Dialogue is another great channel. They spoke to Judge Joe Brown at length. They spoke to this man who was locked up and on death row. And when he was sentenced, it seemed that Kamala Harris knew beforehand what the jurors were going to say. And she was laughing and was looking at him. She couldn't wait. And boy, she let out a squeal when they charged him with murder. As it turned out, she was holding back exonerating evidence, which the Supreme Court had to force her to release, to let this man go. And she held it back, African-American man, while she, after the Summer of Love, which it's okay if certain people go through the streets holding firearms, shooting, pushing carts that are filled with flames into gas stations to make the gas stations blow up. It's okay that 35 people killed and thousands were maimed, and police stations were burned down, and they burned down they were trying to burn down the White House, but they burned down the Church of the Presidents, the church that's near the White House. That's okay. But it was Trump's fault that smoke bombs were thrown at the crowd that was about to storm the White House and kill him. And he was going to go into the basement. That's bad. They should be allowed to do that. It's okay that Madonna said that she was going to be up the White House. It's okay that they screamed in the streets, were angry, claimed that the election was stolen. We spent who knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars with the Mueller investigation, stymieing his presidency from helping us. As it turned out, that not very many people know, that Hillary was fined because she paid for the Steele dossier, which was the evidence that they tried to prove that Putin stole the election because some Russians bought $1,500 worth of Facebook ads on both sides. They were trying to get the Democrats and the Republicans mad at each other. So they split up the ads on both sides to try, which has nothing to do with her losing. She has claimed that even though you could run the best campaign, be the most qualified, get the most votes, and still have the election stolen from you, it's his fault. It's your fault. It's like an abused child. An abused child, well, they are the ones, the parents, the family, other people who are abusing the child, yet they are the ones doing wrong. The child must sit there and admit that they're the ones who are wrong. It's exactly from my experience with abuse, from abused childhood through growing up. I look at this and I'm saying, this is how they're treating him. He and Vance, they must admit that he lost the election, when Stacey Abrams still hasn't to this day. She still hasn't, even though she conceded, she still hasn't. And she paid to have the Steele dossier. The whole thing was a lie. The Russia collusion was a lie. Hunter Biden, 50 agencies says that the laptop wasn't real. And then we found out, yes, it was real. And it has criminal evidence of every kind on that laptop, as you know. How can you believe these people when everything turns out to be a lie? You found out later the fine people on both sides was a lie. He condemned the neo-Nazis altogether. But there's some people who don't want the statues up, and some people wanted it up for history, kind of like saying, this person did this. This is what history was. And let me tell you, my child, what happened during the Civil War and why it was fought. That is who, and it came out, and that was a lie. How many lies do they have to tell that have proven to be lies, and yet you still believe that Trump is the liar? He told you that crime was going to skyrocket. Now we have 600 Venezuelan torture gangs in America. 600. And torture gangs, meaning they don't just kill you, they stab you to death so you die slowly. Like when Julius Caesar, they had that in the park. Remember Julius Caesar, that Shakespeare in the Park, when he was elected? They made, instead of Julius Caesar, they made it Trump. And Julius Caesar was stabbed 52 times, backstabbed basically by his own Senate. And he died. It took him 5 days to die slowly. That's what happens when you're stabbed. You die slowly because you slowly bleed to death. It used to be, if you said anything, had any inkling that you were going to hurt the president in any way, shape, or form, the Secret Service was at your door. Yet, from Kathy Griffith holding up the bloody head to the many rap videos shooting Trump, holding up bloody heads, to the Shakespeare in the Park, which wasn't one night. Shakespeare in the Park went for like several weeks or a month. You can do this, and you can put out a directive saying, yes, if we protest and say, no, we just like the screaming march with the girls in the streets screaming because he was elected rather than Hillary was elected, and they're screaming violence in the street. They can do that. We cannot do that. They can threaten violence. They can do violence. They can hold machine guns during the summer of love and shoot people and burn things down. And literally kill people and maim people for the rest, and loot and riot. Yet, should you disagree with and want an investigation Judge Joe Brown, let me tell you something. Judge Joe Brown in 1877, the Congress and the Senate passed an act called the Certainty and Fairness of Integrity Act. I think it's the Certainty or the Fairness and Integrity Act on elections, that if enough of the public, and it could be half of the public or more, believe that the election, that something wasn't right, the vice president, and this is what Trump had basically asked Pence to do, that Pence would say, we're going to hold off, basically hold off on counting and certifying the election today. This is the truth, and Joe Brown can confirm this for you. That five people from the justices from the Supreme Court, 5 people from the Senate, 5 senators and 5 Congress people would get together, and then they would personally investigate for 10 days only. This is just 10 days. Investigate if there's any credibility that there's something askew with the election. Now, Hillary could have done this. She could have done this instead of the violence and the screaming and the threats and the whole Mueller investigation, which cost us millions of dollars and proved to be not true. And then she was fined because basically, as it turned out, she was behind it because she used the Perkins Coie law firm as a cutout for her money to put together the dossier, which Christopher Steele, a MI6 agent in England, put together. I'm sure you might know about this. I'm just repeating it for anyone who doesn't know. She could have done that. That could have been done. Joe Biden could have said 10 days, and it's only 10 days. Now, how much could you investigate for 10 days? It at least, the people at least say, our voices are heard. The only person who died that day was Ashley Babbitt. They let go that shaman, the Q shaman, I won't even say that word, after the film footage was released. And that showed that everything the Democrats said was a lie about what he did. He was escorted by security peacefully. They showed him where the room was. And he went up there and just prayed for everyone, even them. And so he was let go immediately because the footage, Tucker Carlson let the footage out. Then, of course, they didn't want any more footage being put out. But we know to shut up. People, we are afraid. The fear of God has been put into us that we know to shut up. And should we say anything, the directive is that we will be shot. And all the claim is, oh yeah, they were threatening. Well, yeah, they're threatening other people's lives. Something. So that's all Pence had to do. That's all he asked him to do. And it was a law. It was an act passed in 1877. It was the law that it can be done if enough people question, they feel uncomfortable about the results of the election. Enough people do, and in that case, enough people did. That's all he had to do. We're just going to put a group of 15 people together, representative of Democrat and Republican, not just one side. So everybody's satisfied. It's very good. It's very intelligent. And then after 10 days, only 10 days, they could have said, we don't have enough evidence after 10 days. Biden's the president. That's all they had to do. That's all Pence was asked to do. Trump didn't. That's all he asked. That's all he asked. He even asked for 10,000 National Guard, but that was guard troops. But that was rejected. The people who have the say is Nancy Pelosi and was it Mayor? I forget the mayor of D.C. at the time. They have the say in that, in marshaling the National Guard for protection. But that certainly would have helped. I'm not saying everybody was perfect that day. I'm not saying things didn't happen, but a lot of things were questionable that day. And that should all be looked at, everything that happened that day. But simply going away 10 days, representatives from both sides, including the Supreme Court, only five Supreme, not the majority. If I know the Democrats hate them too. But there are liberals on that side, Democrats on that side too. That's all, 10 days. And people would have said, well, at least our voices were heard, whether they found the evidence or not. And it should we needed longer than 10 days. At least, you see, that pacifies people, and letting people, as he said, protest peacefully and patriotically. We should be able to protest peacefully and patriotically. As long as we're peaceful, we should be able to speak. And there should be nothing wrong with that. If someone goes farther than that, that's a whole different story. But that's what he said. That's why I don't, looking at what he did and what he said, that's what he said. And he did come out and tell them to go home. But YouTube and X took it down, by the way. But that's the past. That's the past. So The Enemy Within. This man also wrote the book, The Enemy Within, Liberalism as a Mental Disorder, quoted The Nation. Now, there's all different nations. It's fine with me. I don't hate anyone who uses the word nation, but he's the one who did it first. And he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's just seen a lot of life. He's extremely intelligent, came up from nothing, the poverty that he knew, the description, and how his brother died. He was born with a lot of things that were wrong with him, and he was put away. It's a very sad story, very, very sad. And his family couldn't speak a word of English when they came here, and unfortunately, more people didn't listen to him. They damned him because he was predicting the truth and he could foresee things. Hopefully he's wrong about the election, but we need to get out and vote and pray that Kamala is safe and that she gets a job that's best for her. And that's all. And we live together in peace. And we listen to each other rather than fighting. If anyone here where I live gets an inkling that I might be voting the wrong way, they become violent with me. I've had people on the street where I said, "Oh, I'm a single woman. I'm concerned about my safety," and all of a sudden they assume right away, and they start screaming at me. I had somebody in the supermarket that I was just talking about things, and they also assumed right away, even though I didn't mention it. I was just concerned about the country. If people are insane, they're absolutely insane. It's the people on a certain side are the ones that cannot speak. And I just want peace for everyone. I want us to all get along. I want us to speak to each other so we can understand. Now, if you think that your side is right, if you yell at them, you're never going to know where the other person is coming from. The other person might, you don't know their life experience, and you can't assume because of the color of their skin or their religion or whatever, although they certainly have demonized African-American men, haven't they? You're stripped of your minority status and humiliated should you vote on the wrong side. Listen to them. Listen to them why, their life experience, what's going on, and be honest. If it's not working, we just need someone else who knows how to fix the problem. Someone who is strong, someone who is good at business. To fix this problem, we need someone who knows what they're doing. And I'm sure there are a lot of Democrats out there, a lot of people out there who are intelligent and maybe be able to fix the problem with the nation. But they didn't put that person up and nobody got a chance to vote for them. See, that's the problem. That's the real problem. Not just vote for them because they have a D after their name and they've been picked. Vote for them because they've done great as a governor or as a senator, or in their life, they've done great. They've really proven themselves in their life experience, and people know that they can. People on both sides know that they can trust them to do a good job. And I think we should get rid of parties altogether and just vote for the person who can do the best job for everybody. I don't hate anyone. I want the best for everyone, even if you hate me. And no matter what religion you are, and I don't wish ill for anyone, no matter, I want the best for everyone, even if I personally think you're misinformed and you're listening to the wrong side and they're listening to a lot of lies. I want the best for you, and whoever is in office, I want them to do the best for you and for the best for everyone. So people stop dying, so people are more affluent, so people get a better education, so people feel safe in this world, so people can speak their minds without getting arrested or shot like they do in those awful countries that people come here and try to get amnesty from, or they say they're coming here for amnesty. Well, if we become like those countries, they're fleeing and coming to a country that's not safe, where they can't speak their minds. It's where it's not prosperous. It makes no sense to me. That's why America should be strong, and that's the reason why people come here, because it is free and people can be everybody can, not just everybody's equal and some animals are more equal than others. It seems like some animals are more equal than others. We're not all equal. Some are definitely more equal than others. Even if you're an African-American Black man who's voting for the wrong side, you're no longer equal, and neither can you ever be unless you vote a certain. That's wrong. That's wrong. That shouldn't be that way. It's as if you're saying that. Are you saying that they're not intelligent? Is that what you're saying? That you have to decide for them? Is that what you're saying? I say, if you don't think listen to them, understand them, connect with them as a human being, connect with their plight, connect with their life experience, listen to why, instead of hating them immediately. Break out of the box, break your cognitive dissonance, break out and listen and connect, because if we don't connect as human beings, then we become a world that doesn't mind when war happens and thousands of people are dying constantly, which is what's happening. Millions of people are dying and nobody cares because we don't care about human life anymore. And I won't get into one subject where we're throwing away human life altogether. We become like that, and we don't mind if human life is extinguished, like the hurricane victims, because they might be voting a certain way. We've heard those rants on TikTok. We become, and you're blaming one side for it when you're actually doing it. We can't be like that. We have to stop this. Human life, humanity, we are all one family. We all stem. PBS did a special maybe about 15 years ago or so called The Original Adam. And you can only trace it through the male line, by the way. The male line can be only traced from father to son. And they traced and the DNA, the genetics goes all the way down. It was like a tree, and they traced it back to basically the roots. we all go back to one man in Africa. And the idea is the reason why we all go back to him is because he may have been the chief, the strongest one, the one who could kill the most animals, the one who won the most battles. Therefore, he got all the women. He had probably, who knows, hundreds of wives. He was the most admired. And so since he was strong, he passed on strong genes. So his lineage survived. And from him, we are all, whether you are in Africa or you're an Inuit or you're somebody in Europe or somebody in Asia, everybody has got this guy's genetics. Since that's the case, we are all one family. We must listen to each other and care about life, not continue endless wars. And it's okay that those people die because they think wrong. You know what? If people do think wrong, talk to them, listen to them, understand them, maybe through dialogue and showing them that you live a certain way of life that is beneficial to people. You can show them by your own actions that you're somebody with integrity and goodness and caring and love, and they'll listen to you. This is how you change people. You don't change them out of fear and brainwashing and re-education camps, who, by the way, during the Obama administration, another radio host that I used to listen to, I still listen to now and his name is, but over the internet, Howie Carr. He said something on his radio show, and under Obama, he was sent to a re-education camp. If you don't think they exist, they do. Out of fear, you see, out of fear and death and incarceration, that's a bad way to change. That doesn't change minds. That fear makes you stop thinking. Do you know that? You become more stupid. Fear actually stops the brain from growing, and you become less intelligent. And you are controlled by fear. And then if you're controlled by fear, then you'll end up dying of some disease because it depresses the immune system, and you end up getting cancer and all sorts of things. And then you don't want to live, and or you will die from your own hand, or you will abuse yourself by drugs or alcohol. Fear is not the way to help, unless the goal is to eliminate a great portion of humanity. If that's the case, then we're on our way to do that. But I think talking to each other, showing people by example, a more loving, a more caring, a free, if you feel relaxed and free, you become more intelligent. You know, you're not cut off. Your mind is not cut off through fear. And then you can't communicate well. I know I can't communicate well. I'll stutter even more when I have a sense of fear and dread throughout my body. And as you can hear in my voice, I'm feeling that right now, though I'm trying to communicate my best to you, as life is very hard. And I haven't been on because I have a severe medical condition, which I need to pay out of pocket because there are too many people on the system for the poor insurance. There's too many people, and very few places take the insurance, and they won't be able to take me for almost a year, and I might die by then. That's how serious it is. There's only so many doctors. There's so many medical establishments, and the insurance will not pay for everyone. So I'm physically not well. I'm physically extremely weak. That's why you haven't seen me, not that I haven't wanted to be on to talk to you. And you know what? If I was on every day and the algorithms worked for me and I wasn't so, let's not say it, I don't know how to make the algorithms work, word of mouth. And I was able to get a little income from commercials, or somebody, if you can give $5 or a few dollars every now and then, maybe I could pay for the health care that I need. But because of that, it's actually killing me, by the way. But anyway, if prices go down, I can only afford food for a week, by the way, a week. And the rest of the month, I make homemade pasta every single day. Flour, water, salt. That's how I live most of the month. Or I make rice and beans, dry beans, as cheap as possibly can be. That's how bad things are. And I live throughout the winter without heat. And that's killing me and aging me, but it's killing me. So if we have someone who knows what to do in office to make this country more prosperous, to lower inflation, I cannot tell you how much that would help. And the stress that I know the road that this country and the world is going down, because the world is exploding. And Trump dangerous, Trump going to, well, really, what is he going to do, blow up the planet? You're already blowing up the outside of the planet. Is he going to invent something to actually put in the planet to blow it up? Because it's already going down the path where most civilization may die. So if we have someone in there who knows what they are doing and cares about humanity, but it's the billionaires who are running the world, the wealthiest, except for one whose initials are EM. The billionaires are running the world, the one deciding that we're going to eat bugs and live in pods. And there are too many people on this earth. And Build Back Better, which was whose campaign slogan? Biden. That's their camp. Oh, it's a coincidence. No, it freaking isn't. Really? Really, he thought of that independently when they all belong to this group that wants to lower the population of the planet? Anyway, God bless you, and I hope to see you soon. And I'm going to do a prayer stream soon. It's just that I'm very weak, and I'm very sorry. But I'm here off camera because the Wi-Fi is really bad in my room. So I've moved this to a place where I can't be on camera. But you don't want to see me. I look weak. I look terrible. Anyway, God bless you. I hope to see you soon. And I wish I could be on every day to talk to you guys. God bless, and thank you for listening to this stream. Good night.